Okay, we are live, ladies and gentlemen. We are live. Let me just adjust something here. Okay, so there's a
Evening all.
quick change. I'm joined by Neil. How are you today, Neil?
I'm doing good, mate. I'm doing good. Glad it's the weekend. Glad it's the
Yeah,
weekend.
exactly the same emotion.
Yeah,
And
indeed.
yeah, it's been a while, ladies and gentlemen, since we've had you on. And a lot has happened in the world of football, not least of all a certain Kylian Mbappe situation, which we'll get into a little bit later. Um, but yeah, so great to have everybody back as you join in, and we'll be talking about what's been happening in the last 7 days in terms of football, which of course there's been a lot in the Premier League. Even tonight, we've had a game go on between Brentford and Brighton. We've had a lot of European action for a lot of teams, and obviously we'll be looking at the fixtures for the coming weekend. So, without further ado, let's launch ourselves into it. We may be
Yeah.
joined by Apollo, who's doing some of my graphics in the background. We might also be joined by Drew,
True.
our resident Man City fan. So we'll wait and
Boo.
see on that. But
Boo.
Neil, let's talk about some of the fixtures that we can see up on the screen at the moment. We've got 2 weeks where we haven't addressed it, so I shall start because my team's at the very first list of fixtures, which was the Arsenal-Tottenham game following the 2-week international break. Arsenal started off with a very tricky fixture, which is normally the North London derby, and lo and behold, my Gunners performed admirably and totally dispatched of the dirty scumbags down the lane to the tune of 3-1, with goals from a beautiful goal, if I may say so, from
You're
my...
gonna say so. You're gonna say so. Just
Yeah,
say
but
it.
it
Just
was,
say
it
it.
was my player of the season, Thomas
Partey.
Partey. I
Yep,
mean, I
that was a
know a
goal,
lot of
man.
Arsenal fans will say Gabriel Jesus is easily their player of the season, but actually, the player who I value the most at Arsenal right now is Thomas Partey, and in that game, he scored an absolute beaut from outside the box to set us on our way. Of course, Gabriel Jesus did chip in with the goal to continue his goal fest at Arsenal while he's been here.
And Jack
Um,
has also chipped in and kind of he's turning some of you Arsenal heads around now, isn't it?
yes,
First you
he is
wanted him gone
indeed.
and now you want him to stay. What's
Yeah,
going on?
and interestingly, I may elaborate on that point you've made, Neil, because what I would like to say about Granit Xhaka is for the entire time that he's played at Arsenal under Wenger, under Unai Emery, under Freddie Ljungberg, and now under Mikel Arteta, this is without doubt the best season starting that he's
Yes,
ever had.
yeah.
His his change of role in the team, in terms of his positional play and how he affects the team, has changed so dramatically in the last 6 months that Mikel Arteta has to be praised because um, most Arsenal fans, I think, have not really enjoyed his time at Arsenal, which is why ultimately they've been predominantly Xhaka out and anti-Xhaka. But in the last 3 months at Arsenal, we've seen a player who is doing stuff that we've not seen on a regular. I mean, the fact that we're only 10 games in and he scored more goals, or he scored his highest number of goals per season in those 10 games, and he's created more opportunities than he's probably created in all the years up to now combined. And that's the
Probably
type of player we've been wanting to have in that position.
that's
Now,
probably
does
been
that
part of
mean...
Arteta's plans, right?
Does that
His
mean that
overall plan.
we no longer want to see a replacement for Xhaka? I still believe there are plenty of players out there who can do a better job than him, and I'm going to be talking about one of those players a little bit later. But I'm happy with what I'm seeing so far. So that's my say on that game. I was very happy. Southampton won. Oh, did you have anything to say about that game, by the way?
Um, no, I'll leave it for the for last week's game.
Okay. So other fixtures that week were Southampton lost at home to Everton. Everton started off the season a bit iffy, but they've suddenly started to pick up. Southampton on the other side are absolutely in the mud at the moment. Can't find a win from anywhere.
I think they're one of my favourites to actually go down at this moment in time. They're just
Yeah,
not looking. They're just not looking the team that we've known them to be.
yeah.
They're definitely going to be in the relegation battle later on this season. I mean, it's too early to kind of say who's going to go down now after sort of what 12, 10, 10, 12, no, 12 games in now. This
Hmm.
week will be 12 games, so it's still a little early, but there are signs that Southampton could be one of those teams
Yeah,
um, at the bottom, fighting to stay out of relegation.
yeah.
But we'll just have to see.
We will indeed. So, Bournemouth, Brentford, 0-0 draw. Not much.
That was a surprising one. I thought Brentford were actually going to cream that one,
Hmm. Crystal
but
Palace lost at home to Chelsea. Tight
no,
game. Palace went ahead. Chelsea fought back from 1-0 down to win 2-1. The Chelsea resurgence.
they're actually playing well
Yeah,
under
yeah.
I've forgotten his name now from Brighton. What is his name? I
Potter,
can see
Graham
his face.
Potter.
That's it, Graham Potter. To be honest, when he first went to Chelsea, I know a few Chelsea fans, and they were not happy. They were not happy. But like all managers, the players are trying to do their best, and they've done well so far.
Yeah.
They're not the greatest team out there, but they've done a lot better. And if Potter uses his magic as he did with Brighton, they're going to be a troublesome team this season.
Mm,
Definitely.
yeah, that's for sure. So, um, definitely Chelsea are on the up. Potter is getting results, even if they're not looking terrific, but he's
Yeah.
getting results, and I'm sure it's just an acclimatization thing. As he gets more and more time to work with his team, he'll
He's
get them
even
to
getting.
perform better
He's
and
even
better.
got your old guy, Aubameyang,
Scoring
looking
goals.
quite decent right now as well. Unfortunately for you guys, he's
Unfortunately, yeah,
he's looking he's
absolutely.
looking he's looking pretty good at the moment. As much as I like to say someone break his legs, I won't say that on the podcast. But you know,
Yeah. Talking about cannon fodder or teams that look relegation bound, Fulham.
you should never say that about Newcastle.
Yeah, Fulham, as expected, capitulated to Newcastle, who are a team looking in fine form as well.
Yeah,
Doing a good job
Newcastle.
there. Your man, whose name now I've forgotten, the manager there. Um, Eddie Howe.
Eddie. Oh, that's it. I
Eddie
almost said
Howe.
Eddie Hearn. I knew it was a H. I knew it was a H. Yeah, Eddie Howe.
Yeah,
He's actually doing quite well. I mean, since
yeah.
he came on at Newcastle last season and he saved them basically from relegation.
Mm,
Um, they're just going from strength to strength. And if you notice, they haven't splashed out what we thought they would have been splashing out
yeah,
come the transfer windows. They look as if they're going to take the slow and steady route
yeah.
and slowly work their way up. And season out, I believe they will get higher and higher, and they'll be challenging
So,
for the top six soon
so
next
one
season
of
or
their
so.
players, one of their players, we're going to have a little chat about later because I think he's suddenly found or become someone of great importance to them and is doing fantastic things in the league currently. Liverpool Brighton, tell us about it, Neil.
Do I have to? To be honest, there is no change for Liverpool at this moment in time. We started pretty badly this season. Um, in my view, we've become the draw specialists. Um, Brighton through Trossard. I mean, Trossard, come on, man. Really? Trossard, a hat trick against Liverpool? I mean, of all the teams he had to score a hat trick against, because he's a good player, but he's not a great player. He undid us every time. Every time he got that ball, he just undid us. It was just we're still going through the nightmare basically. Neil is
Poor
standing up to
defending,
be
right?
counted. Respect. Oh, defending. What more can I say? Seriously, we've got what used to be one of the best central defenders out there, and he's just so poor. Van Dijk's been really poor this season, and it looks as if whoever we put him up with, it's just not working at the moment. My view is take Dijk off. I mean, we have no one challenging for those positions, and that's part of the problem as well. When you look at him and Alexander Arnold, um, who are you going to replace them with in the team? That will do just well. Even though Joe Gomez is actually now starting to play well, um, in replacement of Alexander Arnold, but then that's because he's been injured now.
Mm,
Um, it's going to be interesting. I'd like to see Gomez do more because he's actually well. I know it was Rangers, and he looked really good against Rangers because anyone can look good against Rangers. But he's fairly steady and he's a better defender than Alexander Arnold is. But and we're going to need him on Sunday. We're definitely going to need him on Sunday because Alexander's out now.
mm,
We'll have to see. And I'm hoping that if VVD, well, he will play. Put Kanate up with him and see how they handle the City attack.
hmm
But we'll see. But yeah, it was a terrible game. I mean, yeah, we did okay, but it was a draw. What more can I say?
mm.
It was a draw.
And at that point in Liverpool's season, you guys must have been thinking, well, when is Salah going to turn up?
Do you know Bobby's been doing it this season. Um, I can't say Salah's going to do anything yet because yeah, he got his goals during the week, but it was against Rangers. I mean, we're talking about Rangers now. Yeah,
Yeah,
if Rangers were in the Premiership, would they get into the top 10? I doubt that very much. I
mm.
doubt that very much. Um, and we still conceded against Rangers. Silly defensive mistakes. Um, which is why I'm not looking forward to Sunday because Haaland, that's what he's going to be reveling in. He's going to hope we make the mistake so we can get another hat trick. What's he on now? How many hat tricks are he on now?
3.
3. Yeah, it could be 4 this weekend. Could be 4
Okay,
this
so
weekend. I'm only being
what?
honest, mate. I'm only being honest.
Yeah, I think you're being a little bit tough on yourself. I mean, obviously, Mo Salah did turn up a few days later, scored a hat trick himself.
Yeah.
But I think Klopp is going to work it out. Yeah, Trent is getting a little bit of flack, but I don't think he's solely to blame for what's
No,
going on.
no, he's not totally to blame, but his mistakes have cost us during
Mm,
some of those games. Um,
okay.
as I said, when you look at VVD and Matip when they're playing together, um, Virgil just looks so weak this season,
Mm,
But who's going to challenge him for his position? No one, and
yeah,
that's the
yeah,
problem with the squad is so small. Yeah, that some of these guys you can see they get very big headed because they know they're not going to be put on start from the bench.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and week if that was any other team, yeah, imagine if VVD was at City, he would
Mm,
be benched. He would have been
yeah,
benched already. Yeah,
yeah.
that's not happening with Liverpool, and that's the problem. That's part of the
I
problem.
mean, he's such a good player. I mean, I was talking to someone else about him today and saying, look, a player of that class and that quality doesn't go poor overnight. And I don't think he
Exactly.
has gone poor. I think he's just, there is uh, a, a certain downing of effort around the entire Liverpool
So
team.
it's the whole team. The whole team.
And it has a knock-on effect. So one guy
Exactly.
cannot play his miraculous, outstanding game when those around him are not matching his fight and his effort.
Yeah,
So
and the thing is, a lot of people still keep bringing up Mane's name. Yes, we're not doing as well, and we do miss him, but he's not. Even if he was there, we'd still be making those mistakes.
mm,
Yeah, because it's not the position. The positions where we're obviously conceding and we're not scoring. Maybe he might have scored 1 or 2 goals if he was still there, but the chances that Salah's had, the chances that Jota's had, and they've missed, you can't. put that down to Mane not being there. These guys are paid a lot of money to score goals and
Mm,
to defend well, and they're not. But we'll just have to see what happens on a Sunday.
yeah. The next game is West Ham won 2-0 against Wolves. A couple of boys that we expect to see on a score sheet quite regularly now for West Ham in
Yep,
the new lads Skamaka
Skamaka
and Jared
he's
Bowen.
he's a good prospect for them.
Yeah,
He's doing really well for them.
yeah. I
Um,
mean, he looks like a really good big man.
oh, definitely, definitely. He's gonna. Do you know what? I say this season's kind of like a bedding in season. Watch him next season.
Yeah,
Yeah, watch
yeah,
him next season when
yeah.
he's used to playing against those players.
Mm,
You know, this is new to him, and he's doing all right considering.
yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely, absolutely. Next game was the Sunday fixture. Leeds drew 0-0 with Villa, which was totally boring. Leicester absolutely thumped another relegation favourite in Nottingham Forest
well,
4-0.
actually, both of them right now, the way they're
Both
playing now,
teams, yeah, absolutely, yeah,
both of them. I was actually surprised with that result. I actually thought that Forest would have got a draw out of that game at least, but they were totally outclassed by
yeah.
Leicester.
Oh, right. I was going to say, I'm sure I missed the Man City game. There it is,
Yeah,
6-3.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
that was the other Sunday
I
game,
thought you
was
were
the
saving
Man
that one
City.
till last.
Well, a shame Drew isn't here to revel in the glory. But
Yeah,
on his
and
behalf, I will say an imperious performance by Man City.
and then Darren to
Um,
to to sulk about it.
Indeed, indeed. Another hat trick for the boy Haaland.
Yeah, I mean
But it
that
was,
guy is gonna he's already setting records. It's
yeah,
just gonna be so interesting to see how many records he actually breaks this season.
yeah. The interesting thing with that game was, I mean, Man City were absolutely amazing in the first half. But the second half, Man United won 3-2.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, but think about it, right? By the end of that first half, you could clearly see, look, lads, we got it in the bag. It's our
Mm,
game. They're not winning, and they clearly took their foot off the gas pedal in the second
yeah,
half. I mean, they still played well, but
yeah,
it was like two different teams were playing against United.
yeah,
One team wanted to destroy them, and then the other team came on and kind of said, you know what, here you go, we'll give you the ball. Let's see what you can do. You ain't
yeah,
winning the game. Let's just see what you can do.
yeah. I mean, the interesting thing for me is I kind of look at a game and in totality, when you think you let in 3 goals, the 6 goals is marvelous, fantastic, well
Yeah.
done to you guys up front. But the 3 goals would be of concern to me. You know,
Oh,
this isn't
definitely.
this isn't a Man United team that firing on all cylinders. Yet they kind of tend to just sort of walk through Man City and showed that, you know what, there's fallibility there. If they're not at the races one day, that could turn into a loss. You know,
That,
so
that
I think
and that's
Liverpool would take some kind of you know impetus from that, saying, well, you know what, they're not infallible, guys. You know, they're not like a
well,
machine. We could get
they
at them.
they don't actually think that anyway. I know that we've been having a bad season, but
Mm,
they do have a positive mindset before they go into the game that they're going to try to win the game.
yeah.
Um, irrespective of Haaland and
Hey,
how
what's
well
going on, guys?
he plays. Hey,
Oh,
how you
yeah.
doing, follow?
Good,
Irrespective of
good.
Haaland and what they're doing, what they've been doing this season, Liverpool aren't going to go there to lie down. They're going to try to get a result. Whether they get it or not, we'll have to see.
Yeah,
But they're going to go for it. They will definitely go for it, no doubt. They don't.
yeah,
They don't want to be a United and concede 6 goals against any team, realistically.
absolutely,
Yeah, I think
So
absolutely.
also, Tony, remember when Manchester City made 4 substitutions? That's
Yeah,
because they were 4-0 up, then they made four
yeah,
substitutions and said, Pep said, everybody, right, get off and get ready for the Champions League game midweek. And then Man United just went haywire on them.
yeah,
yeah.
So,
I mean, you know, the thing I mentioned this to yourself as well, Apollo, I think earlier, was that Man City, when they bring on 4 players, they're not bringing on like scrubs. They're bringing
yeah,
on, you know, bona fide, well-beaten players like Samares and, you
yeah.
know, others
But
that come on are
yeah,
all well beaters. So,
but you got to look at the size of that squad. Yeah,
yeah,
you look across the league and you look at everyone's got more or less a decent first 11. Yeah. And then what they'll have is they'll have additional players on the bench who can make a difference. Yeah.
Yeah.
City have another team of 11 practically.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? If
Yeah.
something happened and they lost their first 11 and they play
Yeah.
their second 11, people are going to still think they're going to win because the quality of those players are
Is
just that good.
and
Yeah,
this
because
is the
De
point that
Bruyne, because in that game it was De Bruyne, Gundogan, Foden, and Grealish who came off,
Yeah.
and then Alvarez, Laporte, Mahrez, and Palmer came on. So
yeah.
not really much of a drop off, right?
No,
Yeah,
exactly.
exactly.
And that's what I'm
And
saying.
and the thing that I would say is, someone said to me the other day, I was talking about Pepe and the fact that, he's a 72 million bench warmer. And I'm like, well, when you consider it, yeah, the way football is now, in order to compete at the very top level, you need to have 72 million pound players on your bench.
Yeah, you
Because
do.
Liverpool, sorry, not Liverpool, Man City, Paris Saint-Germain, Real Madrid, Barcelona, they're all competing with those players on the bench.
Yeah,
But I
exactly.
think when you look at what Josh and Edu were saying about the Arsenal model, since the Pepe deal, they haven't done anything like that. They've built their team entirely on the Liverpool model. So most of their players cost between 30 and 35 million.
Yeah.
And I think that when you look at how Jurgen Klopp has done it with Liverpool, it works. And the only player that they paid that kind of money for was Van Dijk. So
yeah, I mean,
I
what
think
Klopp did, Klopp, he's got a very good brain, and when he's looking at, he looks at the team and he looks at gaps and looks at players who can fill those gaps and do just as well. Yeah. Unfortunately, they don't spend the money that City would spend to get the class of player slightly higher than that. Yeah. So sometimes when you see Liverpool play their first 11, they'll play great. When we need to swap players over, the form drops off when we change those players. They're good players, don't get me wrong. They're just not good enough to keep the fire going.
But what I
That
like about it,
intensity
you look
going.
at the Diaz, you look at the Jota, you look at the implementation of good footballing players. So,
Yeah.
we can talk about stars, we can talk about 80 million, 70 million stars like, Nunes and all that stuff. But we're talking about good, adept footballers who play well with the ball at their feet, can spot an opening, make a difference. And when Arsenal went out and bought Fabio Vieira, that to me kind of solidified the Liverpool model. It's like you're getting this guy in who's a great footballer. All he did was score an assist in that
What Klopp,
portfolio.
yeah, what Klopp did originally is, because when he first came in, Liverpool obviously was still under Rodgers, and we were playing the long ball. Yeah. The problem with playing the long ball is we didn't have many players who could actually passes out. When Klopp came in, he threw that out the window. He just threw that out the window and said, "Look, I'm going to get you guys." He even got Hendo to be able to play short balls and run with the ball. And that's what he looks for. He looks for players who are handy on the ball. And if you're not handy on the ball, he's going to get you skilled up, within a season. Yeah,
Yeah.
whether you're great or not, we'll have to see. But he makes sure it fits his jigsaw puzzle. Yeah.
Cool. All right, let's move on, guys. So that's week 9 covered. Week 10 started with Saturday morning. Man City thumping Southampton, as we've already discussed, Neil and I, about Southampton looking very much a relegation battle for them. Chelsea thumped Wolves. Wolves seem to be struggling this season as well. I mean, they're a team that we've in the past been able to see as being defensively strong and also quite, able to, eke out results here and there. But, 2 weeks on the spin, they've lost quite badly. Bournemouth 2-1 against Leicester. So the Leicester revival kind of slumped a week after they
Straight
thumped
away.
Forest.
That's another team that's going to
Straight
be
away, man. Not even a
in the
week.
relegation battle. Leicester's
Yeah.
another team that will be in that relegation battle. The way they're playing at the
How many
moment.
games does Brendan Rodgers have, guys?
Oh, what left? You mean left as in
Well,
like?
yeah, obviously they must have had the conversation with him.
Do you know? Right. The funny thing is you've got to look at Leicester and where they're coming from. Right. They've won the Premiership. Yeah. They were a decent top 7 team, top 8 team.
Yeah.
There or thereabouts. Yeah, it's clear that the owners have said something to him, but I'll say that now, and they'll probably get rid of him tomorrow. It doesn't look as if they're going to get rid of him. I don't think that they're ready to get rid of him because they've had some dire results. Yeah, I know they're not a Watford that they bring a manager in, he loses 2 games, and they get rid of him. Yeah, Leicester look as if they're still investing in Rodgers. Because to be honest, when they started dropping points, I thought Rodgers was going to be the first manager to go, and
I
he's
mean,
still
in all
there.
honesty, I mean, there are clubs out there that stick by their managers or that
Yeah,
give their managers some leeway based on what they've done in the past. Obviously the complete opposite of that is Chelsea. You could win the Champions League with Chelsea and they still sack you. Um,
exactly.
but I think Leicester
Yeah,
are the type of team that don't just bullet managers for fun. I think they're the type of they have a kind of family
It
sort
is a
of
family
set
environment
up.
the way
Yeah,
they do it.
yeah. So I don't think they'd be, that quick to fire a manager that they've had investment in, and they almost see him as part of the furniture because of what he's won them in the past, and going from there.
I think if they get rid of him, it'll be after the World Cup. It'll be the second half of the season, but
Mm.
I'm not sure. I'm kind of
yeah.
like on the
That's normally
fence.
the conversation, isn't it? It's you've got
Yeah,
until Christmas to turn this around, and if you haven't, we'll make the change then. So yeah,
yeah.
I agree with that. I'll go with that.
Okay, all right. Newcastle thumped Brentford. I mean, once again, they're banging in goals. And as I said, we're going to talk about one of their players a little bit later. But imperious form by Brentford at the moment. By Newcastle at the moment. And anyone who's going to face them must be quite daunting in terms of going up to Newcastle and trying to get a result.
I am so glad that we've already played them and we got a result. Seriously, I'm so glad that we managed to
They're the
get a result
team
against them.
nobody wants to play, man. I
Of
mean,
course, of course. I mean,
we're talking about will they get European? They're already in 6th position.
put it this way, I reckon they will because one of the teams that were there or thereabouts last season was West Ham, and West Ham are not doing it at the moment. They're just not doing it. And yeah, if anyone does fall out from those positions from last season, Newcastle will definitely replace them. The way they're playing, I think Newcastle will be up there.
Although when you say West Ham aren't doing it, I do believe what I've seen of West Ham in the last few weeks leads me to believe that they're on the upturn. I honestly believe that. I think a couple of their players were a little bit short at the start of the season. Brought in a few new names which needed a bit of time to gel. But from what I've seen in the last couple of weeks, I think they're on the upturn. Okay, so next game was Brighton lost at home to Tottenham. Unfortunately, a 1-0 win for Tottenham.
That's a pretty close game as
They're
well.
scraping over the line with the games that they win. I mean, yeah, the odd game they take a team to the sword, but some games they're literally scraping over the line.
Who's that? Newcastle.
Tottenham Spurs.
Oh,
Yeah, but
Tottenham.
the thing is, whether they scrape over or not, it's all about the 3 points, and they're getting the vital points at the end of the day. And whether Song and Kane are on form or they're not on form, they're still getting the points, and that's all that matters at this moment in time. Doesn't matter how you do it, as long as you do it.
Yeah, I
And
think
they're getting the result.
I think that's what they were saying before the Arsenal game, because they were unbeaten. But Arsenal highlighted all the frailties because look, they were winning ugly and they were happy with that. But all the way through, the fans' constant message was, "We don't like the style of football they're playing." I used to say that Song and Kane's form wasn't great. I mean, Kane scored 7 goals, so there's obviously nothing wrong with his scoring record. But
they're mostly penalties.
Yeah, they are, which Andy doesn't like. But I think the fact is, I think we know now at this point that they have been told to play a certain way, which they're not comfortable with. So Song has actually been dropped for a couple of games as well. So when the players normally dropped, it means that they're not buying into whatever the system is. And the other players like Perisic, Kulisevsky, and all of them guys are more preferred because they're more preferred disciplined players to the cause. So I think that the form is related only to Conte. I think if you take the gloves off, take the handcuffs off, then they'll play a more free flowing football, but then they'll probably lose more games. So Conte at the moment is probably doing what Jose Mourinho was doing, and nobody liked what was going on then. And I think that's why you're starting to see a little bit of negative sound bites coming out of Tottenham fans because they don't like the quality of football.
But people like to see they like to see exciting football. They don't want to see a team that's going to defend, put 11 players behind the ball, and not do much, and then counter every now and then. That's what we each season, especially when you look at teams like City, who can move the ball around. That's what fans across the whole Premier League is looking for within their team. They want their teams to do something like that. May not be as good as teams like City, but they want that exciting type of football.
Yeah, I mean the statistics for that game are ridiculous. I mean, Brighton had 60% of the play. They had 14 shots to 8. They had 4 on target to 3. They had 6 corners to 2. That was a game Brighton should have won. But Spurs eat that game out. Anyway, let's move on. West Ham, as I said, on the upsurge, 3-1 winners over relegation fodder Fulham.
So I want to cover this one, Tony, because we've got a lot of Ian, who follows the channel and is our West Ham guy on a Friday night, and I know he's an actor as well, so that's the reason why he's busy doing a lot of theatre. So big shout out to you, Ian. I've been on Ian's back since week 1. I said to him, you spend 40 million on Scamacca and you don't start him in the first 4 games. And West Ham had 1 goal in that time span. But yet every time, this is the frustration, every time they played him in the Europa League, he scored.
Yeah.
So they started him in his first Premier League game, and guess what? Scamacca scored. So the solution to their problem has always been there, staring them dead in the face. But let's relate this to Liverpool and Arsenal. Can you imagine spending that money on Gabriel Jesus and Darwin Núñez, and then not starting them in the first 4 Premier League games?
Well,
what is that all about?
We had that issue because he got bloody sent off, didn't he?
Agreed. Yeah, but Arsenal never had any issue like that. Could you imagine Arsenal fans, Tony, not starting Jesus for the first 4 games, and then the first game you start him, he scores. So
I mean,
unfortunately, West Ham fans, I feel your pain.
Yeah.
Well, it might be Moyes' plan, isn't it? Some managers do the weirdest of things to get the fire lit underneath a player for him to actually be eager and do what he needs to do. Maybe that's what he felt he had to do. Well, the only way we'll know is if you just ask Moyes, hey, why aren't you playing for the first 4 games? That's the only way you're going to know, realistically.
Well, I mean, you can see what a guy's like when he comes into training, and if he's come from a foreign land, and quite often you can see the physicality is often not there. So it's not unusual to see guys being, held back before. Look at Pulisic at Tottenham. He comes in, he's probably their best left back, but he didn't start for like 4 or 5 games because they knew they had to get him to that point physically to be able to play in the Premier League.
Or maybe he just wasn't that great in training. Maybe it's taken him a while to kind of get into training, because that's where Moyes is going to be making all his notes on the player and looking how he's going to affect once you put him in the team. Maybe he just wasn't doing that well. We don't know, but that could be a reason as well.
Yeah, when a guy comes in and you throw him in, then you're just hoping. Whereas when you take your time and you play them in training and you run certain routines and you get them to understand their co-players, you can build systems that they will understand on the pitch so that they know and they get an understanding of what to do. Let's move on. So Crystal Palace won at home against Leeds. Good result for Palace there. Leeds are blowing hot and cold at the moment.
I think a lot of teams are. You just mentioned Southampton, a team that nobody wants to play at their place. You're talking about Patrick Vieira, who many last season were saying they want them to take over Arsenal. I mean, you wouldn't have that conversation now but and then Leeds United. A lot of these teams are bipolar by nature, Tony. And actually, I'm quite surprised that Palace are in 15th place, because for the job that Vieira was doing, I would at least expect them to be 7th, 8th, or 9th. So I'm surprised by them only winning 2 games in the first 9. I think that is definitely underwhelmed for such an experience. I mean, what is he? This is his 6th or 7th year as a manager now, Vieira. So I'm surprised by that. But Leeds, these are bipolar teams.
You've also got to look at Vieira's budget at Palace as well, and look at the actual players they've got. They're a pretty good team, but watching them drop points like that, you wouldn't be too surprised. No one expects him to finish in the top 6, top 8.
So that's a key question you've answered there, and I've got the answer for you. Who was their player of the season last year?
Conor Gallagher.
Yeah,
exactly.
He was at
exactly.
He went back to Chelsea, didn't he?
That's your answer right there, and that's where they're losing games. They're getting overrun in the midfield, and it's affecting everybody. So.
Okay, next game was Arsenal won 3-2 at home to Liverpool.
I'm gone. I see you lot later, yeah? Goodbye. See you later.
I'm going to allow you, Apollo, to revel in the glory of a wonderful win against the dirty
Not one, but 2 Arsenal fans in this podcast. Man.
I think actually it's really good because me and Neil did a very thorough preview of the game. And there were things I told Neil in that game about Thomas Partey, about the one-on-one matchups with Salah, and they played out exactly as I said to Neil. In terms of what they were doing, the only thing that surprised me was how much they struggled with Darwin Núñez. That's what surprised me. I thought Gabriel and Saliba would have done a better job with him, but Tomiyasu on Saliba was just a masterclass. This is a guy who's rinsed Kieran Tierney for the last few seasons, absolutely burned a hole in his heart. And I was watching, actually, I uploaded a video of Kieran Tierney today talking to Sky Sports. I put that up on the forum for anybody who's a follower 101. And yes, Tierney was disheartened that he didn't start. He was more mortified that he didn't start, but he understood why when the final whistle blew. Because last season, guys, let's not forget, Tomiyasu was being touted as one of the best right backs in the league.
Yeah.
Yeah, before his injury, which was awful, and I get it. I understand Tomiyasu's not happy as well. He's made that very clear that he's lost his position. So I understand it. But you take somebody like him, who, by the way, is naturally a left-footed player. Yeah, I know he plays on a right back, but he is naturally a left-footed player. And when he plays for Japan, guess what position he plays? He plays centre-back and left-back. He doesn't play right-back. It's only when he played for Bolivia in Italy they used him as a right back because they had a need of position there. So it's the question for Arsenal is all over the place now. What happens at right back with Ben White? Does he keep that position? Because he's not a better defender than Tomiyasu. And now what happens at left back? Because you've got Zinchenko. I guess Zinchenko takes that as soon as he comes back. There's no question about it.
Yeah.
But then you've got we're talking about last season we didn't have any depth. Where's our depth at right back and left back? Yeah, Cedric Soares has not played 60 seconds this season in any competition.
It's about competition, but it's about competition within the team itself.
Yeah.
But then you've also got to look at your manager and think about how he sees the competition per position.
But I think the key reason in the result was when I looked at, every time they do the top teams reviews, they always do an Arsenal, Tottenham first 11, and they always do a Liverpool, Arsenal first 11. And when I saw everybody doing the first 11 for our matchup, none of them had Xhaka and Partey in there. A couple had maybe Xhaka, but none had Partey. And Partey is Arsenal's best player. And so it's surprising to them. But to me and Tony, it weren't surprising at all. We expected Partey to dominate that midfield. And that's what I said to you, Neil. Yeah, people were saying Thiago, Fabinho. And I was like, you know what Thomas Partey's going to do to them? He's going to blow them off the field. And that's what he did.
Sorry, I've covered you up, Neil. I just wanted to bring in that comment from Cam because it does basically back up what Apollo is saying. In that, Xhaka was very industrious in the Liverpool game, far from a liability. But Partey was the reason that Liverpool was tamed. He's just a Rolls Royce in that midfield.
He's a Makelele,
it's part of that's part of the reason, and also you got to look at Liverpool's current form as well. That's also part of the reason as well. Why you guys got the result that you got. That's not just the only game that we've played like that. We've played, as I said, that you look at the game against Brighton. When was the last time Brighton scored 3 goals against Liverpool?
Yeah,
but I think
but that's our form. But that's been
about Liverpool because
but that's been our form this season, and that's what I'm saying is that at the end of the day, if we don't change and if we don't improve, we're not even going to be. We won't even end up in the top 10.
Yeah. That's a bit.
No. Look, 10 games.
No.
10 points.
Neil, before you say anything, Brighton's the wrong team to compare yourself against because you're talking about a team that's on the crux of top 4 football. They've always been a good team. I'm not saying that Brighton aren't a good team. I'm saying when was the last time they scored 3 goals against Liverpool?
Yeah,
I agree, but then Liverpool have scored 7 goals
it's
against
the form,
Rangers,
but it's the form though.
Well,
You can't bring Rangers into this because, as I said to Tony before, Rangers wouldn't even be a top. Would they be top 15 if they win the Premiership? Probably not.
Maybe,
they're not
but
that great.
Nobody scored 9 goals against Bournemouth. Liverpool are still in there, mate. They're still in
there. I'm not saying that we're not. I'm saying that we've got to improve. But
sorry, guys,
current form.
Gonna cut you short because we got lots to go on to. Just want to address a comment from Greg, if I may. He's responding to Gary talking about Granit Xhaka. Xhaka has certainly turned it around at Arsenal, looks a much more mature and disciplined player. Arteta has always rated him, and clearly Xhaka is his boy. But I would still look for an upgrade. Like you said, Tony, everyone except Partey can be replaced.
Yeah, Tony and Bertram have always said that.
And as you alluded to, Apollo, you did a good video in midweek about a Partey. Everyone's talking about Saliba and Xhaka, and Partey is the best player on the team. And even so much to say that as much as I love Gabriel Jesus, Partey is still the most important part of this team. So let's go back to the last 2 fixtures from last weekend. Everton lost at home to Man United. Not a lot to talk about there. Hot and cold Everton. And Nottingham Forest drew 1-1 with Aston Villa in the Midlands. So that pretty much covers most of the games. Have any of you got anything to say about any of the games from those last couple of weeks, other than what we've already discussed?
Yeah, I mean, I've just got to say that the most disappointment I have. There's 2 things really. First of all, Everton's got the best defense in the league, so I think that they're not gonna be relegated because of that. But the other thing is what is going on with Wolves. What on earth? They cannot score a lick. They've got some, they've got Jimenez, they've got Neto, they've got Neves, they've got some good offensive players. But they just, whether it's the system, I don't know. A Wolves fan will have to tell me that. But if they don't sort their shit out, they're going down into the Championship.
I don't think they'll get relegated. But the way they're playing at the moment, they probably will be close to the relegation positions. I think they'll put it together and then they'll start getting results.
What saved them last season is they were the number 2 defense.
I mean, you were asking about what Leicester have got to do to save Brendan Rodgers' job. Well, Wolves have won exactly the same amount of games because they've all won 1 game all season.
Yeah.
The difference is 2 points. So the same question about Rodgers is certainly got to be looked at for the Wolves manager, because they're literally doing what Leicester are doing in underperforming so badly compared to seasons of past.
Yep.
But so why I don't agree with that is because tell me who Wolves manager is.
Can't remember his name. I can see his face.
We don't even know. The manager is an interim manager who's Steve Davis. That's their problem. They need a manager. They need to go out and get someone like Pochettino or somebody to steady the ship. That's their problem, Tony. They don't even have a manager.
Cool.
And
All right.
and this has been how long has it been now? What, a month?
Well, their old manager's out of a job at the moment, isn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bring him back. Bring him back.
Seriously, yeah, good call. Good shout.
Yeah, bring
100%.
him back.
Yeah.
100%. I mean, this weekend they go into the game.
They go against Forest, isn't it? Forest.
Well, Traore's ill. Jimenez, Chiquito, Neto are all unavailable. So all the guys that I just mentioned to you who can make a difference on the score sheet they're not even on the pitch. And you tie that into some guy who's looking after the team. They don't have a manager. They're in big trouble, mate.
Yeah.
Okay,
guys.
They're going against Forest. They're going against Forest this weekend, so they might get a bit of a blight.
Let's talk about these upcoming week of fixtures. So let's start off with today's game. Neil, you watched the game. I didn't. Give us your rundown on what you saw between Brentford and Brighton today.
To be honest, before the game, sorry, you changed the graphics. Sorry, just put me off for a minute.
I'm putting them up.
Yeah, so watching the game, obviously Tony's the man. He scored a goal and he also got a penalty as well. But for me, the player of their side was, I can never say his name, Embuemo.
Bueno, yeah.
Embuemo, yeah. Oh man, he was class today. He was up and down. He was getting in, getting the ball in good positions, running with the ball. He did really well. He even had a volley that came off the crossbar. So realistic, they should have really scored 3 goals. Brighton look as if they were relying a lot on Trossard, and he just had, after the Liverpool game, they clearly thought that he's that's kick started his season, and he was going to be doing it today, but no, he was just not doing it today. What score's that? That's wrong. That's wrong.
I took the shot when the game had not finished, so I don't know what. I don't know what the score was.
Yeah,
how did it end?
2-0.
It was 2-0.
Okay. So I took this.
Tony got both goals. Second one was a penalty. On his current form, he'll be well. No one's actually going to take the golden boot from Haaland, but he'll be up there. One of the names mentioned alongside him. He will do well. He's doing well this season. I just can't.
I always think with goal scorers, like Tony and like Kane, a decent wedge of their goals will come from the penalty spot. So how good is Tony? Because if you take the penalties out, he's probably on about 5 goals.
No, but right? Yeah, okay. So he's kind of he's 100% on penalties at the moment, which is a good stat to have. But he doesn't control the penalties; they just happen, and he takes them.
Yeah.
Yeah,
but that's what I'm saying.
In open play,
the penalties, it'd be like Ronaldo. Ronaldo scored a lot of goals, but a lot of them were penalties because he was so reliable at them. And I know that's what you want your striker to be. You want your striker to be the goal scorer, the penalty taker. But when you take away that, then actually, do I still score a lot of goals?
Do you know?
Because remember. I tell you whose numbers get inflamed by penalties. Matt Letizia.
Yeah, but then you've got to look at Brentford, and you've got to look at how they service him. Yeah, if they have a very good game, he'll get a lot of chances. If they don't, he won't.
Yeah.
If he was with a team that could give him a lot more service, much better chances, he'd be up there. He definitely score a lot more goals.
Okay. So let's move on to the games coming up this weekend. And I think I want to go through them quite rapidly, Apollo, because I've got some points that I've pulled into the into overlay. So I wanted to just have a quick sort of couple of minutes on each of those points. So if we can get through these quickly and then we can address those points that I've pulled up. So if I go Neil, Apollo, me, and I give you the fixture. Just give me your result and a quick rundown. So Neil, Leicester, Crystal Palace.
2-1 Crystal Palace. I just can't see. Even though Leicester won last weekend, I just can't see them doing much against decent teams at this moment in time.
Yeah, Tony,
Apollo?
you do the next one.
Wait. So the way I normally do it is everyone does the same all the games, but we just do it real quick.
Oh,
So
all right,
Leicester-
yeah. It's, to me, 2-0 Crystal Palace on that one.
I'm gonna go 2-1 to Crystal Palace. Neil, Fulham, Bournemouth.
1-0 Fulham.
Apollo?
Yeah, 2-0 Fulham to me. They're at home. It's going to be
I'm gonna go with Bournemouth 2-1.
Ooh.
Wolves, Nottingham Forest. Neil.
Wolves bounce back game. 2-1 Wolves.
2-0 to Nottingham Forest for me.
Oh.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go with.
I wanted to talk
2-2.
about Forest in depth, but I don't know whether
Yeah.
we're going to have any time.
Okay, 2-2. I go with that one. Tottenham at home to Everton. Neil.
2-1 Spurs.
Okay,
I'm hoping for one. I'm hoping for 1-1.
Okay, just got to read out. Just got to read out this quick comment from Cam because it relates to this game. Everton were a bit underwhelming against Man United at the weekend, especially after taking an early lead. I expect Spurs to win this one, but Everton's defense,
Yeah, they're the best. Yeah, Everton's they can defend.
I like you, Apollo. Hope Everton can get some. I'll go with a 1-1. Leeds at home to Arsenal. Neil.
3-0 Arsenal.
Apollo.
2-0 Arsenal.
I'm going to go with Neil. 3-0 Arsenal. Man United at home to Newcastle. Now, this is an interesting one. Neil, how do you see it?
2-2.
Apollo?
2-1 Man United. And the reason why I say that is because Alexander Isak is their golden boy, but he's only played 3 games this season, and this game's going to be too soon for him. He scored 2 goals in 3 games. I think United. I think United at home at Old Trafford 2-1.
So I believe Newcastle are a very difficult team to win against. I predict a 2-2 draw. Aston Villa at home to Chelsea. Neil.
1-0 Chelsea.
1-1. 1-1.
Chelsea 2-0.
Cool.
Southampton at home to West Ham. Neil.
3-1 West Ham.
2-1 West Ham.
2-0 West Ham. And then the big one. I'll let you get a few more words in on this one, Neil. Liverpool at home to Man City.
This is the one game I'm not looking forward to. But then Salah did score a couple of goals. Firmino scored goals. Nunes has scored goals. I'm hoping that they'll score goals. But to be honest, as much as my head wants to say Liverpool, it's going to be City, and it's going to be 4-1.
So I think I'm going to go with the form guide. Liverpool are a different animal at Anfield, and they're definitely going to get something out of this game. I think it's going to finish 2-2. And
right.
Yeah, I think it's going to finish 2-2. But Liverpool's high line has been causing them the problems. You know, even when you looked at Rangers, they were able to get at them in the first half.
And you remember Haaland's he's no slouch.
I know, and that's why I'm saying the tactic for me is if Liverpool continue to play high line, they're dead.
That's the only way that's the only way they play. They only know that way now. They're always going to be playing that high line.
Yeah, Liverpool are a bit of a wild card because Klopp has got to change something. He's got to get rid of that high line against these guys and let Man City work for it. And then you've got the players who can break and hurt you on the other end. I liked Darwin Núñez against Arsenal. I thought he was their best player, quite frankly.
He shows a lot of potential. And the thing is, with now Diaz is out. Alexander-Arnold is out.
Yeah, I was about to mention Curtis Jones is back, and the left back Andy Robinson. He's going to make his first appearance after 6 weeks, so he's back as well. They're going to get something.
I wouldn't play Robertson. I'd play Tsimikas.
Yeah,
purely because he's doing really well. To take him out, you're going to change that dimension that, that we've just started kind of clicking together. Yes, we're still leaking goals, but we're kind of clicking together. Tsimikas is doing really, really well. You take him out and you put Robertson in. Robertson is not going to pick up where he left off. Remember, the man's been injured. So it's going to take him a few games to get back into it. And you're talking about City. You're not talking about a warm-up game against a low-end team like a Fulham or whatever. You're talking about City.
Yeah, so you're talking about City. I'm talking about a team who has not lost at home in 5.5 years. That's what I'm talking about. Yeah. So we're talking about two different things, my brother.
Yep, we are.
I think you're gonna. Liverpool's gonna get something from this game. Mark my words.
I hope you're right. I just can't see it.
So, gentlemen, I got the sort of the tipping vote in this one, I guess. So we got a drawn one, we got a loss to the other. Can Liverpool win it? Because in my heart of hearts, although normally I would never favour Liverpool winning the game, but that would do us an amazing favour, because my dream would be to go into the World Cup window with a 4-point gap, and for that to happen, we need Liverpool to beat Man City. I'm going to join Apollo in a draw. I'm going with a 1-1 though. I think it'd be a
1-1.
It needs to be a tie.
It's not going to be low. It's not going to be a low scoring game. There's going to be goals in that game.
Liverpool need to tighten up. They need to tighten up, and this is the game where a lot of this stuff, I think, gets tidied up in my eyes. Klopp will have them prepared for this onslaught.
Any other season, yeah, when you see the way Liverpool have played season in, season out, I'd say, do you know what? We'll get the result. We have the tools to beat them, but this is just a bad season. That's all it is. It's just a bad season.
You hear those fans at the Kop. Wait.
But listen, I've been there.
Noise
I've been there. I've been there. I know what it's like. Yeah, and I know. You know what? The fans being the 12th man, especially at Liverpool, it's great. But you've also got to look at
it's the best.
No, the atmosphere. Seriously, when I went there, the last time I went there, seriously, man, the big man was crying.
It's the best.
Was crying, singing "You Never Walk Alone." Big man felt this tear coming out. You know what I mean? It's just like, boy, it was just like, wow. It is emotional, but at the same time, I'm being realistic. I've got to look at our current form, not form last season. Look at our current form this season. Yeah.
All right.
Look at Haaland.
Yeah.
What more can I say, man?
Let's call
it's a draw for you lot, though. Yeah, it's a draw for you lot. And I hope you're right. I hope I'm wrong, and I hope I come back and go, yeah, you guys, you're right, and I was wrong. I hope that happens.
So I'm adding a little portion to the show now that we haven't seen before. I'll scroll through some recent news in the football headlines. One of them is particularly endearing to me. So I'm going to fire away. Give us a short, sharp blast, guys, what you feel about these particular stories. Luis Campos, I speak to Kylian Mbappe every day, as he's never told me he wants to leave the club in January. I didn't have the chance to speak with Mbappe, PSG manager said after the game. So what do we think, guys?
Do you know what? I think he's on his way out. Well, if he had a choice, he's on his way out. PSG won't want to let him go. But if he has his way, he's on his way out. He's clearly not happy. They've not brought in the players that he thought they were going to bring in. What's the thing about him? He was also able to make decisions towards who can come in and who can't, and that's probably what's kind of added to the problems as well, because he's not seen the players he wants to come in.
So all I'm saying is we sometimes make too much of commodities, because that's what they are. They're not players. They're not people. Sportsmen and sportswomen in organizations are known as commodities. In the NFL, in the NBA, when you look at a player, you don't think, what's going to be the disparity to this player being in or out of the team. You think, what can I get? What is he worth? And when you look at someone like Mbappe, first of all, you're looking at 300 million. You're looking at breaking the transfer record, and you can do a lot with 250, 300 million.
Of course.
So
what you just said is insane, bro.
It's insane. But then, you know, if you're talking about, what was it? Tottenham wanted, what was it, 175 million, 200 million for Harry Kane. And he was a 29-year-old at that time. Nobody pulled the trigger. Even though Man City was close, Pep said, you know, we thought about it. And in the end, we decided not to do anything. But Mbappe, you know, Neymar went for 200 million. And Neymar was, what was he, 27, 26?
Yeah.
This guy is 21.
Yeah, it's hard to believe that, isn't it? It's hard because he feels like he's been around forever.
He's 21. He scored more Champions League goals than anyone his age in the history of the game.
Exactly. He's been that good and had so many commentators mention his name. He's in the papers. He's everywhere. You would literally think this man's been around for 10, 15 years.
Look,
that's
if
how good
Neymar's
he is.
worth 200 million, this guy is 250, 300. No doubt about it.
Yeah, but realistically,
no doubt about it, Tony.
Yeah, but the question is, who can afford him?
That's my point, Neil.
That's the question. Who's going to buy him?
As much as we all know the only teams that could possibly afford him and fit that into financial fair play, are probably Real Madrid.
No, not Real Madrid. Look at the problems they're having financially. Them and Barcelona. Yeah.
I know.
As much as he'd love to go to Real Madrid, I don't think they would have the money.
Clearly not as bad as Barcelona's, but
it's not as bad. They can't afford. Real Madrid cannot afford.
Still managed to spend what, 76 million?
Yeah, but for Real Madrid to afford him, they've got to sell half their team. Yeah. If you're talking about financial fair play, they're going to have to sell at least half their team, and so that's not going to work. Yeah. What other teams out there can afford him? City, definitely. The way Chelsea have been, the way they promised the amount of money that they're allowed to spend, they might be able to afford him, but they still have to sell a couple of players. Yeah,
that's
you've also got to look at the wage structure as well.
That's not a bad shout, Neil. Chelsea have got some serious riches, and considering they haven't spent anything close to what we thought they could spend. That's a good shout. Anyway, let's move on, guys, because I've got a few topics to just skim over. The next one. Antonio Conte confirms Tottenham plan to sign Dejan Kulusevski. This one was, I brought this up because I thought Andy would be here, and I thought I'd see what his reaction would be. But yeah, anyone want to talk about that? Sounds pretty.
As an Arsenal fan, I don't care, and he ain't going to save their season.
Okay. This one's for you, Neil. Klopp said after the midweek game, Liverpool fans deserve it so much as they have remained really calm. We are all in this together. Liverpool fans believe in this team. I do as well. I am really, really happy we can send them home happy tonight.
Yeah, that was obviously after the Champions League game against Rangers. It's good to see them score that amount of goals. It's good to see Salah get a hat-trick. It's good to see Bobby still scoring. It's good to see Nunes actually chipping as well. And even the young boy, what's his name? I can see his face. I'm really bad with names today. Scored his first Champions League goal.
Jota got 3 assists, didn't he?
Yeah, that's the thing, you see, right? As much as you know, or you want, Liverpool fans wanted to win this game. We want to see that form in the league games. Yeah. Right now, the league is more important than Champions League.
Okay, next subject. Oh, sorry, fellas.
Yeah, because I still want Tony to give me an answer with a question that I've had for him all week.
Okay, so this was a guy I had my eyes on in the summer. I don't know if you guys know Sergei Milinkovic-Savic. But basically they've said his fee has gone from 100 million to 120 million. But to me, if we ever wanted to buy a player capable of doing what Thomas Partey does, he is the player. Apollo, this one's directly at you. Would you spend 120 million on Sergei Milinkovic-Savic?
No, I wouldn't. I just wouldn't. I don't think, in terms of how Arsenal have built that team so far, I trust in what they're doing. And another thing as well, my second point is, as I said in my video before and on the forums, Arsenal need to take one step back out the transfer market in 2023 and focus on Saliba, Martinelli, and Saka's renewal. That's that's the most important thing to that club right now.
You guys, the way you guys are playing at the moment, clearly Arteta's plan is working in the way you play football, the way you move around, the strength of your team, because your team is getting stronger and stronger. Stick with that team, stick with that core, yeah. Get them playing for games together.
The problem is, Neil, and I'm gonna break it down to you. You take Thomas Partey out of that team is nowhere near
I agree with
a
that. Performing
team. And we don't have another player. Whereas I see this guy as being possibly the guy who upgrades on Xhaka and can fill in the role that Thomas Partey plays. So I know it's a big fee, but he literally is worth the money.
Yeah, I think it's difficult because of what I just mentioned in terms of we have to re-sign our young players. If we had 100 million or 50 million kitty, that's where my focus would be. If I'm the owner, if I'm the technical director, or even a manager, I would say let's get our new core of superstars.
Well, your owners don't like spending. Your owners don't like spending money anyway, so that's probably already their agenda.
No,
that's actually not true.
That's not true. That's not true. Yeah, I think you're talking about Stan Kroenke.
Yeah,
I think you're talking about Stan. Yeah, he's not the guy in charge. Yeah, so when he was in charge, we didn't spend any money. Now the owners have spent 210 million, and that's Josh Kroenke.
So this is the guy I was talking about when I said we'd be talking about a Newcastle player. This player has become unbelievable in the last 6 months for Newcastle.
Yeah, he's a great player. And there's going to be more to come from Bruno. Oh, you changed that quickly, man.
What's going on at Barcelona, guys? Anyone want to talk to me?
They're about to drop
into the Europe. You're about to drop into the Europa League.
They're dead food. And listen, they're not the worst culprit. I told you the other day, it's Juventus. Juventus are actually
look. You got to look at Barcelona, right? They got away with so much financially over the seasons. Sooner or later, it was going to catch up with them. And it's caught up with them now. Yeah, they can't do jack right now. They can't bring in the players they want to bring in. Yeah, right. When you're looking back in the day, the reason why Real Madrid and Barca had those players because that was the desire of each player to say, "I want to play for Barcelona. And they would jump ship.
Yeah.
They would jump ship. Yeah, but now money dictates more of it. Yeah, they can't go out and grab these players anymore. They just can't do it.
It does.
Yeah, and they're suffering. They're suffering from it.
I do want to mention something. Tony just and I was actually going to make a video about this, but now I'm going to talk about it. There's no point. Douglas Luiz has signed a new long-term deal with Aston Villa. I think I had a conversation with a football agent yesterday, and he said to me, and this is really important for Arsenal fans. He said to me, Arsenal's going to have a plus and minus intangible next year because they're going to attract a lot of top-level players who want to play at the highest level, who want to win the Premier League, who wants to win in the Champions League. You know, Arsenal's not in the Champions League now, but one can say if they were in it this season, they would be doing really well. You see how Spurs are struggling, you know, in their group, even though they are where they are in the group. But Arsenal, every time I look at Arsenal and I think, first of all, he wouldn't be playing these reserves. He'd be playing his first team in Europe, just like all the other teams are. But how good would Arsenal be if they were in this year's Champions League? But my main point is this. The football agent said Douglas Luiz has come to the realization that he would never be in the starting 11 at Arsenal. And so a lot has been said with Steven Gerrard and their owners and everything, and they managed to convince him to sign a new long-term deal. Because had this guy come to Arsenal next year, he just would have backed up Partey. He would have been. They would have let El Nene go, and they just would have sat him in as a reserve player. So they've obviously talked to him in regards to his future and what's the best for him and World Cup and everything. But my point is this. Here's my main point. Colin Jordan who's quite a few of the players who we play for, their agent. He said to me, Apollo, which player at Arsenal is the weakest link? And I've talked to Tony about this the other day, and I had to think about it, and I was like, well, Gabriel, everyone's talking about him, but he was our strongest player last year. He was the centre-back that scored 5 goals, bossed games, dominated at the back. And if I'm saying that one of our most prized players from last year is our weakest link this year, then that should tell you how good the squad is. So who do you drop? When you go and buy a player, who gets dropped? You're going to drop Jesus? You're going to drop Xhaka? You're going to drop Martinelli? You're going to drop Odegaard? You're going to drop Ben White, who you paid 50 million for? You're going to drop Saliba? You're going to drop Ramsdale, who's one of the best goalies in the league? You're going to drop Zinchenko? No. Who the hell are you going to drop? So if right now the levels at Arsenal have just jumped, they've just been dialed up to 11. And what that means for next year is whoever you bring in has got to be a creme la creme, because you've got to integrate and fit them into this amazing system that is working right now. That is these guys are top of the league. So our level has been raised to a point where you now got to look in the transfer market and say, well, what type of player are you going to bring in? Because all you're doing really is looking to put reserves on. You're building a squad. You're doing a Jota, a Diaz. You're just looking to build a squad. Because
but the thing is, Apollo, clearly when you look at the Europa League team, you can see that those players who do come in are simply not at the level of that first.
But as I said, that's a non-starter, because if Arsenal were in the Champions League, you wouldn't be playing that team. Does that make sense?
But you wouldn't want to play the same 11 players in every competition. So
you can't. They get tired. They get too tired.
Liverpool's doing it.
Yeah.
City's doing it. Chelsea in Europe are doing it. Spurs are doing it. You can't be in the Champions League and say, oh, you know what? I'm going to rest 6 players today.
Yeah.
But then again, you've got 5 subs.
Yeah.
Huh?
You've got 5 subs, which
I agree with that. I agree with that.
And that's changed. That's changed the dynamic of at least the league anyway, the Premiership. I mean, you've got 5 players you can swap over.
It has. The bare essentials is you have to play your strongest 11 in the Champions League.
Yeah.
No doubt about it.
All right, let me get into my last few ones. Here we go. Let's go. We've done that one. Last few ones. Phil Foden signed a deal. This was aimed at Drew. If he was
here. That was done today, wasn't it? That was today.
That was done today.
Yeah.
So that's a good bit of business for Man City. And the last one was Arthur Melo at Liverpool.
Oh, please,
to you.
Please.
Oh man,
the man's coming on loan and he's already out. He's already out.
There's a good player, I'm not.
Listen. It doesn't matter how good he is. Will he be playing for the next 3 months? No. The man's out. The man. The season's over. He's only played minutes.
Tony's smiling because we dodged the bullet there. Look, we dodged the bullet. Man.
He played. The man played minutes. Yeah.
Players.
Exactly. He played minutes. Yeah. He hasn't even played 45 minutes. Yeah. Realistically, yeah. And the man is out. And the thing is, and what kind of got to me about him is that the way Liverpool brought him in, it was like a lastminute.com thing, right? And it's a loan player, right? And I have always been saying, especially I'm part of this group on WhatsApp, Liverpool group, and I'm saying that we're too big to be getting players in on loan. We should be blind players, yeah. We should be looking at potential players that fits Klopp's jigsaw. Right,
because
we didn't do it this transfer window.
You guys
but
came
we got
in
desperate
for Douglas Luiz when it's just that he told his agent he wanted to go to Arsenal. So you guys was also in for Douglas Luiz.
But it's also about splashing the cash as well. But then you've got to look at our team, and you've got to look at when they're on form. As you guys were saying, who do you drop? For me, the weakest part of Liverpool is the midfield. You can drop players in the midfield. Yeah, right. But realistically, you can't drop players in the back, and you can't drop the front 3 either.
So it's strange because I love Arsene Wenger. I absolutely love him. But when Mikel Arteta came into Arsenal, we hadn't had a manager who had bought a spine in 15 years. We didn't have a manager who had bought a world-class goalie, a world-class defensive midfielder, and a world-class centre-back. Like, we had, through all of our years, I can't believe I can go through some horrible names in the midfield and some terrible names at centre-back. Yeah? Embarrassing.
Yeah.
And Arteta comes in, and what does he do? Bang! Just fire off his magnum. There you go. There's a spine. And so I love Klopp. Klopp is my favourite manager. Yeah, and I've never been shy to admit that. Everybody knows that. But how the hell has he not brought? Why didn't he buy Basuma? I mean, how has he not bought a central midfielder in that team in 7 years? I don't get it.
It's about finance. It's about finances. Yeah, it's about finances. Yeah. Unfortunately, Fenway. They're the owners that I don't want for Liverpool. No. Don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. They were a lot better than Hicks. They were a lot better than Hicks and Gillette, right? They saved Liverpool from actually going down because that team was so close to going into administration under Hicks. All Hicks and Gillette did was they got loans and then they put it against the club, got another loan, put it against the club, got another loan, put it against, and then let's put like maybe 20 million into the kitty and allow the manager to go and get a player with that. Yeah, that's what they were doing, right? They were running that club so bad. FSG, don't get me wrong. FSG came in, right? They saved the club, and I do respect them for that, right? But the thing is, you can't just put money into a club and then go, that's all we're going to kind of put now, right? Well, every now and then we'll feed some more money in. If you're talking about keeping the club in the league, you can do that. If you're talking about trying to win the league, you can't do that. You're competing with teams who have money like the Chelseas, the Cities. Now Newcastle's going to be one of those teams. Yeah, eventually. You can't compete with that if you're not putting money into your club.
So
and when you look at players now, when you look at players now, right? Which good players are going for cheap money?
So I just want to say one thing which we kind of touched on in our preview last week, and it's become more apparent to me now. The further I've stepped back, the wider I can see it now. And you know me, I took Liverpool to win a title last season, and it just looks to me now that when you have put everything in, when you've put all your eggs in on in the same basket, and you've played Russian roulette and put $1 million on black and it's come out red, it just looks to me like they're topped. It just looks to me like what they did last year. They played 67 games last season.
Yep.
At the highest level in Europe. Yeah. And they still didn't win. And I think that what you're seeing now, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you're seeing the toll of that effort last season.
Yeah. What you're seeing is you're seeing a combination of the toll and the lack of investment. Yeah, you have to keep investing to keep that going. Yeah, you have to try and keep that team fresh. Yeah, as I said, Liverpool have a strong 11. Yeah, but that's about it. Yeah,
I think
you're being a strong 11.
I think you're being a little bit forgetful, Neil. You still have, and I always said this to you last.
You're going to talk about the front players, right?
The front six.
Yeah,
the six players that you could play up front. Because let's be honest, how many other teams have got six players?
No, you're right.
Rotate around the front and create their own havoc and goals.
You are totally right. Yeah. But without decent midfield players behind them, you're not going to get what you want. You will get results.
In midfield. The same
no, we haven't got great midfielders. All right, look at Liverpool. Okay, yeah, but look at Liverpool. Look at our midfield. Right, so imagine if we had a better midfield. Imagine how we would perform.
Had a good midfield. I mean,
right?
Let's just put it this way: that midfield was adequate to get the ball from the defense to the strikers. The strikers are the ones that create the magic in your team.
Well, okay. So apart from Thiago, apart from Thiago, right, and Fabinho, who is a defensive player, who in midfield is actually doing that? You got Milner, Hendo moves the ball left to right. Yeah, every now and then he may go on a little bit of a run. Yeah, but the majority of the time it's just going left and right. Milner, who is a good player up till now, is too slow now. He cannot, especially against you guys, right? When you go against youngsters, he can't compete. Yeah. So the only two players you're relying on is Fabinho for defensive reasons and Thiago for going forward, right? When Thiago is injured, what happens then? Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. When you look at our defense, we got players in defense. You look at our front three, because we normally use a front three. We got 6 players fighting for those positions, right?
Yeah.
We need the same in midfield, and we need the same quality type players. We have not got those quality type players.
I agree.
Yeah,
The midfield,
right. Look, that's the main difference between Liverpool, right, and City. Yeah. Listen. I take out Liverpool's midfield, take City's in. We're doing it. You know what I'm saying? We're doing it.
Right, Tony, I've actually got a question for you, Tony. But this is at the end of the stream. We're coming up to the end of the stream now. So I obviously have got the question. I want your thoughts about Conor Benn and Chris Eubank Jr. It's not football related, but I want you. I called Tony up when I heard about what happened. Tony was just leaving work.
I'm totally.
I was shell shocked.
Yeah, I'm shell shocked still. I'm still shell shocked.
Have you heard what Chris Eubank said on the radio?
Yeah.
What did he say? I didn't hear that. What did he say?
I heard his conversation with my good friend Spencer Fearon on his show, which is really
it's eye-opening. He's saying, I brought this boy up for 33 years. I love him more than anything in the world, and you want me to put him in the ring to die. That's what his words were.
Yeah.
Exactly what his words were.
What Ben said.
I'll have another
Chris
time
Eubank said that. Chris Eubank Senior.
Yeah.
Wow.
Because remember, it was Ben's son.
Yeah.
Anyway, gentlemen, thank you very much for your time this evening.
It's good, man. It's been a pleasure.
Gonna leave it there. It's been an interesting conversation. I've enjoyed it as always. Hope you guys in the feed and on the streams have been also enjoying it, and we look forward to seeing you guys another time next week. In fact, we'll
be here Sunday, Tony, doing the watch along for Leeds.
We will be here on Sunday for the watch along. Yeah. So, guys, all the best from us.
Excellent. Have a good one, guys.
Have a good weekend.
And tomorrow we'll try and do a preview for Leeds tomorrow. I'll see if I can fit that in somewhere. All right, guys.
Okay, guys. Take care. See you later.